So you know what I liked about Night Gallery the best when he took two established actors or three and put them together and see what they can come up with. Now this is one of the episodes, although it wasn't put in the first run or syndication package initially, it holds up for its own because it has the great Will Geer and the great Slim Pickens well before they attained superstardom. In the case of Will Geer with the Waltons and Slim Pickens with Blazing Saddles. Now, this was again unaired, but made their way into the syndication package. Now this is called Die Now, Pay Later. Pay Later. Teleplay again by showrunner Jack Laird, based on a short story Year End Clearance by Mary Lynn Roby, directed by Timothy Galfus. It includes Will Geer as Walt Peckinpah, great last name, and Slim Pickens as Sheriff Ned Harlow. Now recording from the great David Jewell blog on Night Gallery, and this one, Geer plays a funeral director who was holding a January clearance sale, and not coincidentally, the death rate in his hometown of Taunton, Massachusetts. Actually, I've been to Taunton, great community, it's nice it was recognized, has skyrocketed over the past month. Sheriff Harlow, a southern transplant, is darned agitated over what he sees as a connection and drops by the funeral parlor to confront the director. Peckinpah, a gentlemanly sort, breezily points out that all sorts of other business people run similar sales. The sheriff, worked up into the type of ladder that only Pickens can offer, and that style he has, points out that many of these recent deaths were people who were long wanted dead by other town residents. And according to Mrs. Harlow, Peckinpah has relatives in Salem and is a descendant of a warlock who was burned at the stake many years ago. Peckinpah is bemused at the assertion, but Harlow is worried that if the sale doesn't end, his wife will spread a rumor about town that a funeral director is somehow casting spells and causing these long simmering feuds to spill over into murder. The phone rings and it's Harlow's wife, calling to scold the sheriff for stopping in to see Peckinpah. Stung by the tongue lashing, he looked sheepishly at Peckinpah, who helpfully suggested that it wouldn't hurt all that much to let the sale go on one more day, would it? Might even help. The sheriff grudgingly nods his assent. Now, this is not really a comic blackout, because it goes on for about 10 minutes. And a little bit longer with some exterior scenes could really work, because, the theory of Massachusetts-based witches and warlocks has been a trope for many years. And it's kind of interesting to mention Taunton, because Taunton is probably pretty well considered one of the most underrated communities in Massachusetts for having connections to the past of that great state. Now, all I can say that Will Geer plays Will Geer in this, Slim Pickens plays Slim Pickens, and it really works for me. Now, I think the reason why it wasn't put in the original package, I think they're hoping to cut it down. But everything was on the cutting room floors put back on here, and it should have been longer. I think longer. The plot is very interesting because they could basically, him as a police officer and Will Geer as a possible warlock could have been fleshed out a little bit more. And it's similar to other episodes of Night Gallery where, we have the bitchy wife or the bitchy husband, where the wife or the husband is trying to get rid of the person in direct or indirect means. But like I said, to see Will Geer before the Waltons, where he plays this kindly, all-purpose grandfather, the grandfather of everybody. Anybody shows up at a Walton homestead and becomes a grandfather to them. But here you could tell he's evil, and Slim Pickens I would love to see in a film noir with Slim Pickens as the private investigator, and I tell you why. If Andy Griffith could work on Matlock, can you imagine if Slim Pickens was like a private investigator? I think that would work like crazy, because Slim Pickens is a very underrated actor. He played the what he called the warmongering fighter pilot in Dr. Strangelove, and it was a really great performance, because he's the guy that keeps it all together, because people from the South are seen as stupid, but in that thing, he's seen from the South, but he's not seen as stupid. He has a job to do, and he wants to complete it because he believes what he believes in, that America should destroy communism. So again, I give this 2 stars out of 4. Some people don't like it, but I didn't know about this episode until I got the DVD. People didn't talk much about it, especially also the Lindsay Wagner, the short blackout as well, which was put on the DVD. For me, it works, and I'd like to see if there's any more minutes of this episode of Cutting Room Floor, 17 to 20 minutes with a little bit of, expansion of the thought. Like I said, it's a good plot. What would happen if funeral director was a lifelong warlock from Massachusetts, like Salem? I think that would be pretty interesting, to me anyway. Thanks for listening, and don't forget, happy Halloween, and thank your local undertaker, because every time you go to him, he's willing to bury anybody you don't like, including relatives. I kid you not. I have had the experience with that. Maybe you don't like your relatives, but he can bury relatives that you don't like, if you know what I'm saying. Thanks for listening. Bye.